digestion. It affects your, you know, we keep it real on this Evil Bunny channel. It affects your bowels. It affects your menstruation cycle. It affects, waking up every night, every day with headaches, always feeling sleepy, tired, worn out, heavy fatigue, fibromyalgia. I mean, the list goes on and on. In general, a lot of these things even weaken your immune system because it's like you're literally, it's like in being sensitive, it's like literally the environment itself is almost not safe for you because it's like you don't have enough defenses internally, right? As well as externally. I talked about this earlier, but I have several friends who have told me that they have a chronic form of depression no matter what happens to them, and I share that as well, which is separate from being a highly sensitive person, because a highly sensitive person is not a person who that is crying all day. If anything, the amount, like, you can tolerate higher, deeper emotion, and you can tolerate situations that are at peak level emotionally, or in what's going on around people, more so than the average person who might get really uncomfortable with that. You can deal with it, so in many ways you're a tough cookie, and because literally you're dealing with emotions so deeply every day, you're already a naturally strong person. So it's not like crying or being manipulative or anything like that. It's mostly just the processing and the feeling of it, and also intellectualizing certain feelings, and in addition to to feeling them, and having empathy for people. So it's kind of like all encompassing, um, animals as well, are highly sensitive. I think they were saying something like 20% of the animal population, non-human, could be considered or put in that category of being extremely sensitive to external stimuli, both predator and prey. I there was something I saw. I'll link it down below. But for example, there was an anecdote about dogs. So the author says that very few dogs are born randomly vicious, but being predators, they can quickly lunge and bite something that they should not, and they do it because there was some sort of cue there that told them to make their move. Cats are not lazy because they sleep so much, as well as lions and other cats, or scaredy cats when they hide themselves. These behaviors evolved, and they are a form of a very old intelligence because that's how they survive. So, you know, a lot of people are interested in epigenetics and the idea of, stressors that our ancestors went through, like literally their environment shaped them, and kind of those genes that were shaped and morphed throughout their lifetime, it gets passed on to us. So there, people are interested in that sort of thing. I think there's some validity to it. You know what I mean? I haven't done too much research about it, but you do inherit certain traits from your parents, and then some, it skips a generation. Sometimes certain traits, just like eye color, like having a light eye color, like having blue eyes, right, is recessive. So that might have came from, a great grandparent. So who's not to say that a great grandparent was extremely sensitive, a sensitive person. Um, and now you have that innate trait as well. I think some of the good things about being a highly sensitive person, is understanding nuance, is being careful, is also knowing the right things to say, to not say, because when someone's talking to you and they say I'm fine and they really mean I'm not fine. That's a huge part, like I know intuitively that it becomes uncomfortable because not everyone has that ability, but I have it. So I can see at least, at minimum, one layer beneath everyone's social facade. And most people that are empathetic and or HSPs can do the same. Like, I can see 1 to 2 layers minimum. The more I know you, I can see even deeper. Um, I think another cool thing is that, we do tend to have a proclivity for the arts, music, film, performance, writing, and whatnot. And like I spoke earlier, babies love HSPs, babies and animals, because we speak their language. We're able to pick up on nonverbal cues that, as animals, before we had language, that's all we relied on. All we relied on were our nonverbal cues. And so part of being a highly sensitive person or empathetic person gives you a sort of emotional intelligence and ancestral wisdom that goes back centuries, if not millennia, in our general development as, from, tree animals, all the way now to being Homo sapiens. It's that kind of like understanding of the universe in a way that's very different that the non-highly sensitive people get. You do have, I am the person that if I see an animal in the room, that's who I'm going over to, and being very polite. Like, I stick out, my knuckles for cats to sniff, and then, allow them to talk to me. Like, I treat every living being around me as if they have agency, which I've noticed that non-sensitive people, or people that don't generally empathize with others, they don't do that. Like, it's like they can't. They literally can't. Like, an animal's an animal, a baby's a baby, an old person's an old person. Like, everyone has their rank and station, and that's pretty much it. I've seen in extroverts doing that. I've seen introverts do it as well. Definitely seeing extroverts, definitely extroverted sensors. But me, I'm on the ground having a real conversation with a cat. I'm speaking their language and I'm learning theirs. You know what I mean? Same thing with babies. Like, I treat babies as if they have agency. I love listening to old people speak. Not trying to sound like Mother Teresa or anything, because most of the time in my life, 80% of the time, I don't want to be bothered with anyone. But if I do come out of hiding somewhere, I will look for, the baby in the room, or, the dog or the cat. The last thing I wanted to kind of generally say about um, being an HSP is that, and this was a study, that we're less affected by cultural bias. There was a study done in which there were like these tasks. It's really annoying to try to explain the task. I'm just going to link that below. But basically, people that are more in tune with society instead of individual voice, they're very aligned with, just general cultural bias, like that's kind of like their go-to. However, for HSPs, that's intuitively, obviously, the thing not to do. So a lot of times HSP comes to a situation and treat it as its own thing. Like, this is a situation to be approached, or this is a person to be approached on their own merit, because I don't know what's going on. I'm not just going to stereotype. Definitely people that are big on stereotyping, definitely people that marginalize other groups or are involved in the oppression of other groups, they're not highly sensitive, because they don't have that level of empathy for others. you know um they just don't have it, and if they talk about things, they're not going to deal in the abstract, because part of being an empathetic person is kind of living in the abstract, because we're not other people. You know what I mean? We're not babies, or you know what I mean, or cats or whatnot. So why look at things from their side? But it's one of the more rewarding things I find in myself, and kind of makes things, it pays off for my general introversion. And so in a way, being an empath, being empathetic, and having the ability to empathize with others is kind of lit. At times it's kind of not. Um, but like most things in life, there's so many pros and so many cons that most things in life just end up being neutral. And I think that's all I have to say right now in general about being an HSP or empath. I think when it comes to my feelings and other things, I can talk about that more in talking about mental health, and relationships, and kind of like how it relates, being a highly sensitive person to that. So that is the evil bunny. This has been a super long video. Um, so I hope you guys got something out of it. And I'll talk to you bunnies in the next video, okay? All right, bye.